And just make sure you've got that. If you've got that,
I got it muted.
good deal. I've made that mistake before. So, all right, guys. I want to appreciate everybody coming out and talking with one of. And if you hear me stumble and trip on myself, it's because I really am I'm a fanboy of this guy. He's semi-local. I met him a few years back. Big shout out to 3B of Fishing Outdoor. He does some talks and that sort of stuff. Some seminars with them that uh, is always been highly impressed with how friendly, how approachable this guy has been. And I'm a huge fan. Again, forgive me for stumbling over myself. I'm a big fanboy of him. But Mr. Bandon Card, a Elite Series angler. He qualified in 2012 for the Elite Series through the collegiate fishing for Bassmaster Collegiate Series. He was the first to actually qualify and fish the Elite Series, which is very impressive. And it goes to show how far the fishing industry has come with the high school and the collegiate series. As you know, high school and college fishing is the fastest growing high school and college sport in the United States. I'm a big fan. I'm a big supporter. Mr. Bandon Card is such a big supporter, as a matter of fact, that he hosts an open. I believe you do it every year on Norris Lake. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir. Yeah, North Lake, December the 1st.
December the 1st.
So
Yeah,
it's it's
lot
coming up
of
here, coming up in a couple of weeks.
So go ahead while we kind of segued to that. Go ahead and since it is coming up December 1st, tell everybody about that real quick, and then say a little something about yourself.
All right. Yeah, I mean, so basically it's open to high school and college anglers. So basically it's two tournaments in one. We've done this so this will be the third year now doing this tournament, and we're just building it every year. Like the first year, I'm just trying to think of how many people. I think we had like 90 something competitors the first year. Last year we had like 160 something. And this year we're actually expecting 250 to 300. So it's starting to get really big, really quick, and it's just a lot of fun. I mean, whenever I qualify for the Elite Series, I wanted to, host this event, obviously, because I was the first collegiate angler to make it in, and so that was just kind of a goal of mine. From day one, I wanted to do it, and just getting all my sponsors on board and getting the Campbell County Chamber of Commerce on board. It kind of all came together 3 years ago. So super pumped about this event. We got teams coming in from all over. We've had them come in as far as Kansas. So but normally it's just the surrounding states. But it's a lot of fun, and can't wait to get that going. So any high school and college anglers that are tuning in, definitely come out and fish with us. It's a lot of fun. I think we gave away over $22,000 in cash and prizes last year.
Wow,
So,
that's impressive, and that's
yeah, I mean, my goal is just to basically, give back as much as I possibly can. So, I'm trying to get money from my sponsors and, from various sources, and then just throw it towards the payout and just have a really epic payout. Try to put some money back in those guys' pockets. That way they can, invest in some other tournaments and just, kind of set the tone for this, new year coming up, and kind of get them a little jump start, if you will.
yeah. And you guys know I'm big on that, and that's one of the reasons that I am a huge fan of Mr. Card here. He fishes one of my favorite lakes because it's clear water. You guys know I'm a big clear water swim bait guy. So he grew up fishing Norris Lake, which is a great lake to hold this tournament on because you can basically break that lake into two different very large bodies of water. So it can definitely handle a good sized tournament with that kind of boat count on it. That's pretty impressive, man. And you know, we all appreciate you guys helping out the young up and comers, which like you're not a young up and comer yourself. By the way, speaking of being a young up and comer, this man in 2012 was also the Elite Series Rookie of the Year. So just so for you guys that didn't know that.
Yeah,
Um,
I appreciate that, man. Dude, these comments on your chat here are cracking me up. These guys are awesome.
yeah, I haven't even started looking at that, but I'm going to get to you guys. I'm all about the knowledge. I know you guys are ready for it. I've seen somebody maybe asking for your hat there maybe a minute ago. Hey, a $10 donation, Mr. Matt Jones. Thank you.
Heck yeah.
Breaking the ice, guys. Help this
That's
channel.
awesome, dude.
Thank, thank you. I'm
Hey,
not here for me.
hey, listen, I'm gonna call somebody out right now. Brian Eaton, I've already seen him on here. AKA Moneybags. You just go ahead and donate to the channel. I know you have plenty of money. Go ahead and make it rain on here.
Oh, uh, there you go, Brian. I know I've met Brian. I know Brian, Mr. Workman, Rodney Workman's on here. BA Fishing, a lot of guys are on here right now. Dean, I've seen Bass Boys TV.
We got
Guys, I'm
we got
sorry.
Kevin Van Dam on here. He's asking where Norse Lake is.
Oh, I don't. I think that's the doppelganger, the Bizarro World, Kevin Van Dam on here. I don't know if it's the real one or not. If it is, I'm sorry and thank you for being here. But listen, guys, I'm going to turn it over. So get your questions ready. I know a lot about Brandon. I'm going to ask him, a couple of the standard questions, that I'm sure he's answered 232 times through different media sources. But my first question to him was, or is, so Brandon, when did you know that this was the career that you wanted to chase down?
Well, I mean, it's always been a goal of mine, since basically at an early age, just watching the Bassmasters on TNT, I think I did a post a few weeks back, when most kids were watching cartoons on Saturday mornings, my brother and I, Jordan and I, we would, wake up, run downstairs, we'd watch Bill Dance, Hank Parker, Roland Martin, and then it would cap off with the Bassmasters, dude. And like we were just eat up with the fact that guys made money catching fish just at a really young age. So, I mean, it was always a dream, always a dream of mine. And so that was the dream. And so, obviously I just started fishing tournaments and just kind of working towards that goal, like everybody's doing, that really has the same dream that I have. And I just got fortunate, man. My first year fishing the Bassmaster Opens, I had a great event, the first tournament on Lake Toho. I actually caught the biggest sack of fish that I had ever caught in my entire life. I weighed in 30 pounds, 15 ounces on the second day of the first Bassmaster Open I ever fished. And to this day, I've still not taught that. So
That'd be hard to top, man.
yeah. So I mean, I started that year, man. It just fell into place. Like I just started out good, Then the momentum followed into Lake Norman. I think I got like a fourth place finish there, and then the final tournament of the year. There was only 3 opens that year, and the final tournament of the year just happened to be up the road at Douglas Lake. So I'm just like, man, like this is meant to be, So
Yeah.
basically just that year in 2011 when I was fishing the opens, it really it happened quick and it just kind of just fell into my lap. And I'm so thankful and blessed that the Lord blessed me that way. And, I really think that, that this is a platform, where I can bring him glory and talk about what God has done in my life and just share the good news of Jesus Christ with others. So I just want to give him all the glory and just glad to be here, man.
That's awesome, and I appreciate you sharing that, man. That is you know, that kind of leads to my next question. My next question was, when did you actually know? But you answered it. When did you know that that you felt like you were ready? But it seems like you know, you were put on that path and you know, led that direction pretty blatantly. So to
Yeah,
speak.
I mean, I don't think that anybody's ever ready to go head to head with Kevin Van Dam. At the young age of 24, going out there and battling it out with those guys, I don't think anybody's ready for that. You just get thrown into it and just go out there, put your head down, and try to catch as many fish as you can. And you know, and some years it works out great, and you qualify for the classic, and life is good. And then you know, other years it's not so easy. You know, kind of like you know the year that I had this past year. So you just kind of got to take the good years with the bad, and just roll with the punches, and just you know have fun along the way, and just you know thank the Lord for the good times and the bads.
Yeah, and you know, there's no more humbling sport than this. There's no doubt about that. And you know, I think you know God has definitely put you out there for a reason and gave you these opportunities. I think that's easy to see. And it's good to see how appreciative and thankful you are. And again, guys, hence why I'm such a big fan of this man. He's just he's a good guy. And by the way, his challenge was accepted by Mr. Uten. His $10 were put in, and
Hey, yeah, I
and
appreciate that, Mr. Eaton.
and I want to give a shout out to Y Buzz Dry. TRC covers. That's a company rod covers that I work with. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching and all the support you give me. And so now, guys, like I said, we've got 61 people on here watching, so there should be a ton of questions coming in. And so let's go ahead and get them ready. You got a pro at your mercy. So fire away. And like we say, let's get his knowledge, his GPS points, whatever we can get from him while we've got him here. Okay.
That
So
sounds good. So, do you want to go ahead and kind of read through some of the comments, or do
that's
you
yeah.
want me to?
I am reading through some of them right now.
All
Give
right.
me some tips on Fort Loudon and Tellico. Some direct questions for you there about
Yeah.
certain places.
All right. Should we start out with that question?
Go ahead and start out with that one.
All right, tips on Fort Loudon and Tellico right now. I would say head straight to the lock down, and go fish Wattsbar Lake. Because I haven't fished Fort Loudon Lake and Tellico
Uh,
much at all this fall. I've pretty much been all in on Watts Bar, man. I went down there earlier in the fall, and the fishing was good, and so I just keep going back down there, and I've had a really fun fall. You know, fishing Watts Bar, and we actually filmed down there last week with Yozuri, and the fish were on a lipless bait like crazy, man. It was one of the funner days of you know throwing a lipless bait, because for one, I mean I throw a lipless bait from time to time, but it's not like a confidence lure. And so when I got out there with the Yozuri with Tyler, the Yozuri videographer, he wanted to do a video exclusively on a 3DB Bob, which is our half ounce, more of the subtle lipless bait. And so I just tied it on, and I was like, you know, I've been catching them on top water and a buzz bait, but we'll give it a whirl, you know. So honestly, like I think it was my fourth or fifth cast, I caught one and just started waylaying them, and it was a really fun day. We caught them really good from like 9 o'clock till about 1 o'clock, and it was just like a whack fest, and then it just shut off. Like I don't know, I guess it was the weather change or whatever, you know, the case may be, but they sure had the feed bags on in the morning, and it was fun. But yeah, I've not fished Fort Loudon and Tellico very much. My brother and I took a trip on Fort Loudon. I guess it was about a week and a half ago, and it was pretty tough. But we fished the river part, fished up there, from basically the city, down to Louisville and back, and really didn't do very well. The water temp was a lot cooler up there, probably because they're just pulling so much water through the system. But what I would do if I had to fish Fort Loudon or Tellico right now, I would probably stay on the lower end, and I would look for any little bit of grass that's available. I know there's some grass in the back, Sinking Creek and probably Turkey Creek and stuff like that. I would obviously fish the grassy flats. There's not much grass this year, but definitely fish around it when you find it. And I'd also just try to hit any little piece of wood that's sticking up on a flat. Whether I'm throwing a square bill, spinner bait, or on a warm day maybe throw a buzz bait over top. But these cold 40-degree rains are definitely putting a hurting to our top water bite here in Tennessee right now.
So I've seen this question in a couple of different forms, and that is, what is your go-to winter confidence bait or your go-to winter bait?
Well, I mean that's kind of a broad question because these lakes here in East Tennessee are so different. It's kind of scary how different they really are. I mean, you could be up there on Norris, where me and you like to fish, and see 20 foot deep, now with all those zebra mussels, and you're trying to catch smallmouth that are eating alewives in 30 foot of water, or you could go out here to Fort Loudon or Watts Bar and throw, a medium running crankbait and, catch them really good. So, it's kind of all over the charts, but I would say, if I just had to pick one lure, it would be a 3/8 ounce finesse jig with a Yamamoto twin tail grub. And I would keep the color selection pretty simple. I would go with brown, green, and orange. Actually, my buddy Brian Newton has made me a bunch, and we actually call that color Norse Crawl. And so I would put that green pumpkin twin tail Yamamoto on there, and I would fish that sucker from 2 foot deep all the way as deep as I need to fish it on. On Norse, obviously, I may be dragging it down there in 30 foot of water, but that's a bait you can take anywhere here in East Tennessee and catch largemouth and smallmouth on it in the wintertime.
Yeah. So now my question to you is, you do any dropping down on Norris? Do you?
Well, I'm not a big fan of Damiki fishing. My brother introduced me to Damiki fishing years ago. Probably, I would say it was 2 or 3 years before the Cherokee Elite Series event.
Yeah.
And that first day that we ever did it, we actually won a tournament that day on it. I think we weighed in like 3 out of the 5 on the Damiki, and caught 1 on a jig and other stuff. But I was like, all right, well, I think I could do this deal. And so that was pretty much the first and the peak of my Damiki fishing. I've obviously caught fish on it since then, but never really had one of those epic Damiki days that you hear about, where guys go out and smash 5, 10, 15, 20 keeper smallies in one day. So I don't know, man. It's just like watching grass grow, staring at that screen and holding your rod still. Like I just want to be reeling something.
Yeah, I'm a big Damiki guy. Now I'll tell you, Bandon is a power fisherman for the most part. Now I've me and him had this discussion the first time I ever met him, actually. Yeah. And he's a power fisherman. I'm a power fisherman. You guys know I love to. I'm a big soft plastic swim bait guy. Well, I showed you the video on Norris. I'm out there 30 foot deep chucking a 5 and 6 inch swim bait, catching 4-pound smallmouths on it. That's sort of my deal. I tell people all the time, I'm a one-trick pony. Give me clear water and a swim bait, and I will find them and catch them. I don't care what time of year it is. But now the Damiki, I fell in love with it, kind of like you, probably 2-3 years ago, or at least a year or two before they came up. I actually did a live stream with a couple of guys where I was like, listen, the Cherokee event, learn the Demiki, listen to what I say. I've got it. I will take you there and show you. I said that was what it was going to be before it happened. Of course, anybody around here knew it was what it was going to be, so it wasn't like a secret. But I got lucky and had a pretty good day up on South Holston, kind of where the Demiki really sort of began its life, up there. And I got lucky and had a pretty good day last year on camera, thank God. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, I do love doing it, but I've done it so much that literally you sit there and my neck just gets stiff from doing this all day. And I'm like, oh, it just hurts so bad by the end of the day. It's literally giving me neck problems.
Oh yeah, dude. Listen, I already have really bad neck problems. I see a chiropractor on a regular basis, so Demiki fishing is definitely not beneficial for my health. So I'm going to use that as an excuse for not doing it, and I'm just going to keep that jig in my hand and drag it around.
Hey man, you can't go wrong with a jig. There's two baits that's always on the deck of my boat year round. Anytime it's a swim bait and a jig. I promise you, there's two that's always there.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let me see. And I seen one question, and it kind of led into one of my other questions. What is one of the toughest things about the Elite Series, being on tour?
I mean, I would say just the travel. I mean, if you ask, anybody on tour, that's probably going to be what they say the most of is just, being on the road, by yourself a lot of times. My wife comes with me some of the times, but she obviously has a job, and so she can come whenever she can work it into her vacation schedule. But yeah, just being on the road, by yourself. And honestly, we don't have kids yet. So, when the kids come, it's probably going to be that much harder. But yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably the hardest thing is just, being on the road, fishing the tournaments, but also, a lot of practice goes in too. So, people look at the Elite Series schedule and think that it's, that it's not that bad. It's only, maybe 10 weeks a year, 10, 11 weeks a year. But if you throw in the pre-practice trips and all that, it really adds up.
Yeah. The practice, people don't realize, I mean, how much actually does go into it. I mean, you guys put a lot of work into it. And so now I've seen this question. I knew this question was coming. I knew you had to think about this question. I'm gonna give it to you in a giant ball. The shakeup in the industry. Give me your opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean that's the hot topic right now, and honestly, I'm just as shocked as all you guys are that I guess it was 70, might have been 68, might have been 70, 72, whatever the final number was, left the Elite Series. I mean that just blows my mind. Like still, like when I think about it, it's like it's crazy, man. Like it's never happened before ever in any other sport. I mean, so this is unprecedented, and I don't know, man. I don't know if the industry is big enough to support 3 tours. I hope it is. I really hope it is, because I don't want to see any guys, on any tour, have to, whatever the case may be, if the tour goes under, or if they consolidate, have to leave bass fishing and be forced into doing something different. I want it to be where it's a choice, where like guys choose to step down or choose to retire or whatever they choose to do. But I don't want to see any professional anglers, lose their job for the simple fact that, one tour, can't support itself anymore. So I really hope that the fishing industry can support all 3 tours. But yeah, it's quite the shakeup, man. I honestly think that it's going to benefit, it's going to benefit the Major League Fishing guys. It's going to benefit the Elite Series guys. If you look at what transpired since the announcement, now the Major League Fishing pros are not even paying an entry fee. The Bassmaster Elite Series payout versus entry fee has gotten way better. The entry fees came down slightly, but the payouts are way better now. Bass is investing an additional $2 million on top of what they were investing the past few years. So I mean, they're really stepping their game up too. So it's crazy. It's a crazy time to be in the sport, but at the same time, I think it's a great time to be in the sport.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think overall in the long term, I think it's going to benefit, guys like you, guys that are dedicated, good sticks. I think there's with any change, there's going to be some casualties along the way, and I hate that, but I think it's going to. I think, and I hope, I should say, I hope that eventually it's going to uh, lead to a better overall uh, living for you guys that are pro, that put the time and put all the work into it, that you guys can get even more time on the water, even better, and put on a better show for us average anglers. And I hope that that's what the end result is, however it shakes out. So,
Yeah.
you know, now I seen something. So while I'm looking through the comments, I'll give you the question that it kind of rolls off of that to what I was going to talk about. Give us, and you don't have to drop names, but if you do, it'd be great. Give us one of the funniest things that have happened to you or you've seen happen to a competitor since you've been on the elite tour or series.
I don't know, man. There's so much that's happened since I started fishing. A lot of craziness has happened in 7 years. I would say, I mean, just because it happened this past year, so at the Mississippi River, we're all kind of paranoid, when we're driving our boats on the Mississippi River because there's all kinds of sandbars that appear in places where last time we were there wasn't sandbars. That place is ever changing, and so that's one of the places that really kind of can come back and bite you because you think that you know the water, but you really don't because a lot changes in a year or so. And so the very first day of practice this year, I was running up through an area, on my Navionics card. It had a channel. I'm sure it's a place that I've ran through many times. And, I'm just hauling tail, going up through there. And dude, it was a sandbar that was just right under the water. Just drove right up on it. I was just like completely out of the well. There was probably like a little bit of water, but I was like, what the heck am I going to do now? So thankfully Micah Frazier was fishing close by, so I gave him a call. He came and tried to help me. We couldn't do it, so I called up Chad Pipkins. Chad got the rope out. We tied it. Me and Micah Frazier were pushing with all of our might. Micah's got a bad back. I've got a bad neck. This is not a good situation for us to be in. But thankfully, we finally got my boat off, and I was just like, man, that was pretty crazy. So I was telling all my buddies about it, and they were giving me a hard time. I think I told Adrian Avina, I called him up, and I was like, dude, you wouldn't believe what just happened to me. And I told him the whole story, and he was ripping on me. Dude, the very next day, the second day of practice, Adrian Avina gets stuck way worse than I did. Honestly, probably like an eighth of a mile. It was literally like just a stone's throw away from where I got stuck. And he like called me up and he was like, bro, you didn't believe what happened. And I was like, you're stuck on a sandbar, ain't you? And so I came over there. It was way worse than what happened to me. So he called this other guy. He knew a guy on the river that had a jet boat, and we rigged up all kinds of rope, and so the jet boat was slinging water up in the air. Me and him were out there pushing, And so it was sandbar madness there for about 2 days of practice, and lots of other guys got stuck too. But that place it's a crazy place, man. It's phenomenal fishing. But you better be watching where you're running and take it safe, because you can put that $70,000 boat up on some sand real quick.
That's something, for me, I fish upper, northeast Tennessee. So I'm used to, Cherokee being, 100+ feet in the channel, Norris being 100+ 200 feet, South Holston 100, 200 feet. So, I'm in 20 foot of water and I'm like, oh God, oh God. So, see you guys go down and fish, like, well, the Mississippi, get in those shallow areas, Okeechobee, those, a lot of those a little more flat, shallow lakes. My rear end would be puckered to the seat real bad. It makes me nervous.
Yeah.
I seen a really good question here. Let me back up. I forgot it. What's your favorite baits to throw on an A rig?
My favorite base to throw on an A rig would it's going to be the same, probably what you guys throw. I really like throwing the little 3-inch swim baits. I feel like when the A rig first came out, we were all throwing the 5-inchers and catching fish on it. But as these fish have seen more and more A rigs, we just keep scaling down our baits. And I think last year on Norse, I was throwing like 2.8s on an A rig, and catching them good on that. So I really think those smaller swim baits are key to getting bites, and really tricking those fish into eating, because they have seen so many A rigs now. It's just hard to get them to commit on the bigger baits. Now, if you're down there on Chickamauga, maybe you can catch them on the big ones, but on these lakes around here, I think that 3-inch swim bait, with honestly not even really that heavy of a weight, probably an 1/8 ounce, maybe quarter if you want to fish it real deep, and just fish the Flash Mob Juniors, the ones that have a little bit of flash to it. That's going to be my favorite A rig setup.
Now I've got a question. Do you always fish like a flash mob? Do you always fish with blades? You prefer blades, or when you get in clear water, do you kind of go away from the blades, or is it I know there can be a lot into that. Wind can factor in, but in clear water.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I don't really get to fish any tournaments except for just a couple of these like fun tournaments, where I can throw an A rig. We always have my buddies and I always have a tournament on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So we've been known to throw an A rig a few times in that event. I think I fished a BFL this February where I was throwing an A rig. But I don't get to fish many events. But when I do, I have a flash mob with blades, and then I'll have like a similar one, whether it's a flash mob that I take the blades off, or just like a homemade deal that's kind of a compact A rig, and just have both of them on the front deck identically, with the same swim baits. And then I just kind of like let the fish tell me what they want. But honestly, most times it seems like those blades, I really do get more bites on the blades. And I don't know if that's a confidence thing, or if it just has more of a drawing power and those fish can spot it farther away. But I definitely keep them honest and try both.
Well, Rodney Workman is demanding free hats, so I don't know. And then Brian Uten is, by the way, saying that you need to do a 3B Vibe walking baits giveaway tonight.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we can do that. Seriously.
I'm not putting you on the spot, man. I know
No.
you know these two cats, and I know them both too. They're hilarious. But so now I did have a guy who was asking about your open series. He was asking if the high school club had to be affiliated with Bass to be eligible to fish?
So to answer that question, no, you can fish the event and not be affiliated with Bass. But if you are affiliated with Bass, we're going to take the top qualifying. Basically, sorry, let me rephrase that. We're going to take the highest finishing team that is affiliated with Bass, and they're going to go to the Bassmaster High School National Championship. So it definitely benefits you to be affiliated with Bass, but no, you do not have to be. You can come, sign up and fish, win the event, take home the prize money. You just won't be able to get the invite to fish the national championship by Bassmaster.
All right, good stuff. That's pretty impressive. Wow, you're going to actually get to go fish the national championship. That's pretty awesome. Guys, I'm an old guy. I'm an old fart. You know this already. And gosh, I would have killed to have high school bass clubs when I was in high school, man. I tell people, we barely had computers, much less much less anything else. All right, here's another question. On a non-shad lake, would you throw an A rig, and if so, what would you put on it?
On a non-shad lake, I mean, I don't think we have any non-shad lakes around here, but I mean, honestly, if the lake didn't have shad, I mean, I would say that maybe they're talking about some lakes up north.
Yeah.
Where there's perch and bluegill, and Lake St. Clair is a lake where you don't necessarily have like the shad that we have here in East Tennessee, but they do have lots of bait fish move through that system, from Lake Erie, moving up through Lake Huron. And I've jacked them on St. Clair in an open throwing an A-rig. Now, obviously, we can't throw the A-rig when we go up there on the Elite Series, but I had a really fun open tournament one year throwing that A-rig. And, I don't know if the smallmouth thought it was a school of perch. I don't know if they thought it was, I don't know what they thought it was, but they were completely crushing it. So, I mean, I think if there's some sort of bait fish that they're feeding on, it's definitely going to be a factor. But basically, I mean, I would just throw those small swim baits, and if that lake that didn't have any shad on it, if you can't get bit on that, I highly doubt that there's going to be an A-rig bite going. So then I would just probably focus on more crawfish imitators, the jigs and the medium running crankbaits and stuff like that.
So what do you feel like is the best or the hottest tournament lake in the nation right now?
That's kind of hard to say, because my favorite lake that we fished is Falcon Lake. And we kind of, the one that I fished was the one that Keith Combs won, which, he still won with 100 and something pounds. I think I finished 7th or something and had right under 100 pounds. But we haven't fished it since then, and that was 2013. So I don't know if it's better now or if it's worse. I saw where Matt Reed was posting some stuff the other day, and he was talking about, catching 30 and 40 a day and really, whacking some big ones. So, I mean, I would say Falcon Lake, if you can get down there. Just the only issue is that it's, on the Mexico border, and people are kind of sketched out about going down there. But other than that, I would probably say Sam Rayburn. Sam Rayburn's been really hot. Whenever we fished that Texas Fest that Pollinook won, that was a complete whack fest. I think it took, I don't know exactly, but I think it took like 16 something pounds a day to even get paid. And we have that up north, but for a largemouth fishery, that's pretty solid if it takes that. So that's probably my legs for largemouth fishing. Obviously we can just look at what transpired this past summer for the smallmouth fisheries. I mean, St. Clair with what Chad Grigsby did, and
Okay.
obviously, Bertrand, jacking them up there on the St. Lawrence River. I mean, those are the places to go to really catch those giant bags of smallmouth.
So there was a question on here. What's the water temperature, and when do you pull out this time of year as we start to get into the colder months? When do you start to look for that jerkbait bite to really get hot?
Yeah, so I mean, the last time I fished West Bar, which was last week about this time, I think it might have been last Wednesday or something like that. It was still like the low 60s. It was right around, I think it was 62 or something like that. So, I mean, it's still warm enough to catch them shallow and, really do the type of fishing that I like to do, which is obviously topwater fishing and fishing shallow with the chatterbait and obviously a lipless bait and cranking and stuff like that. But I would say I'm not going to move out and start doing that jerkbait game until it gets pretty cold. Like I really try to catch those shallow fish if I can, all the way up until the water temp dips into the 40s. And honestly, there's some days in the winter, when the water temp's in the 40s, and you can still jack them shallow. But I'm not really gonna pull back out on the main channel bluffs and target those suspending fish until the water temperature is in the 40s. So I would say I start doing it a little bit more around 48, somewhere in there, and obviously colder. But I mean, if I have water temp in the low 50s, man, I'm still going to be trying to look for a shallow bite, and a lot of times, that's going to be a winning strategy this time of year, or later in the year, obviously, once the water gets in the 50s. There's going to be a lot of big fish still up shallow trying to put their feed bags on before it really gets cold. So that's probably my approach for this, late fall to early winter transition.
Yeah. So I've seen this sort of question by two or three guys, and we're talking sponsors. So I've seen it from a high school guy. What's the best way? And I think that you can kind of throw a in general, all-encompassing answer out here for this one. What's the best way to find, approach, and gain sponsors?
So it's pretty interesting you asked this question, because I actually just did a Bassmaster blog on this very thing, talking to the student anglers, the high school anglers, the college anglers about getting sponsorship deals. And in my opinion, I think that all that needs to wait. I think as a team, as a high school team or as a college team, I think you should try to get some sponsors. Maybe your coach can do that for you. Obviously, in college, there's some colleges that have coaches, but really for the most part, like the president kind of has to run everything. And so in college, I was the president for University of Kentucky. So I went and got some sponsors to kind of help out with some travel expenses and stuff like that for the team. But as an individual, I really think that you need to wait and try to get sponsors, as an individual, once you actually make it into, a professional circuit, whether that's the Elite Series or the FLW or Major League Fishing. So that's what I did. I didn't have a single paying sponsor anytime until I made it to the Elite Series. So I financed my own opens. Basically out of college, I worked all during college. I waited tables during college. When I got out, I started a landscape company and just went to work. And, I think that the time spent trying to get sponsors to pay you, you could put that time into actually working and make about 10 times the amount of money. And, if you pick the right job, you can find a good job that'll let you have time off to where you'll be able to fish a lot. So, yeah, I mean, if you can get some good product sponsors and stuff as a team, I'm all for that. I I know my buddy D. Wilson, Dixie Custom Rods. You know, he helps out a lot of the teams in the area, and that's a great program. Abu Garcia, my sponsor, they just came out with the student angler program where the anglers can order products, you know, really cheap, and then they can sell products as kind of a fundraiser for the club. So stuff like that, that's all good. But those young anglers that are out chasing, you know, beating the bushes, you know, really trying to wrap their boat and do all this stuff. You know, I think they're just kind of spinning their wheels. And honestly, I'm speaking on experience. I tried it. You know, when I had some success at the collegiate level, you know, I thought, well, hey, I'm going to go get some sponsors, you know, and I, you know, made all these like little packets up and, you know, was cold calling all these companies. And I just literally just spin my wheels for a long time. And finally I said, I'm just going to work. I'm going to save my money and I'm going to fish. So that's what I would encourage the younger anglers to do is don't focus on those sponsors until you make it to the professional side of things. And then, I mean, honestly, they're super important now. So I'm not knocking sponsors at all. Like as a professional, like you pretty much have to have sponsors. I mean, I know Steve Kennedy does it without sponsors, but he's pretty much the only one. So to be able to make ends meet and provide for your family, you know, this is our livelihood. Sponsors are a huge part of the game, and you have to work just as hard for the sponsors as you do, you know, chasing bass. So, I mean, you know, sponsors want video content. They want social media posts on a regular basis. You know, they want you to work shows, do video shoots. So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and you have to work just as hard at that as you would, you know, like a normal job. Because if you know, just think that these companies are going to, you know, pay you to fish and you don't have to do much other than fish, those sponsors probably won't stick around very long. So that's probably my advice as far as like going out and getting the sponsors. You know, I think it's all about networking. It's just, you know, anybody that you meet in this industry, you know, really take the time to talk to them. You know, just be a nice guy to everybody, whether it's Kevin Van Dam or whether it's a little kid that you meet. And you meet enough people in this industry to where you're going to meet somebody that you connect with, that whenever the time comes and you qualify to fish professionally, you can, you know, call that person up and you already have a relationship established, and it's just kind of a smooth transition. That's you know, that's kind of how it's happened for me.
You know, the saying is it's a small world, but the fishing industry is a very small world. So,
Oh yeah, very small. You do not want to burn any bridges in this industry.
no.
Because that guy that you burnt the bridge with is buddies with the owner of this company. He's buddies with the owner of that company. It's very tight knit and very small for sure.
Yeah. And you know, even as a YouTube guy, I'm no pro. You know, I have my share of company partners that I work with. I don't, you know, I don't get paid by anybody, but you know, for local teams, make sure you're looking at those local bait manufacturers, those local rod manufacturers. You know, those guys can help, are more than likely to help you out a lot of times. Your team, remember, and that's a good point that Brandon made, your team, focus on the team getting sponsored and not the individual. Right now, as a high school and a collegiate angler, he gives a great tip. And by the way, in the description, we'll make sure that we put the link to that blog post that Brandon's talking about out there, so you guys can go and read that. I know he's going to drop a ton of knowledge in that article. So that's great timing, guys. Great timing. So my next question is going to be someone asked simply, which one do you like to chase the most, bronze or green?
I'm a green guy, man. So I really like catching smallmouth in Tennessee, but we don't get to fish for smallmouth in Tennessee on tour. We have to go up north and chase the brown ones up there. And a southern smallmouth is completely different than a northern smallmouth, like 180 degrees different, in my opinion. You know, down here, when we have a, you know, cloudy, nasty day, you know, if it's spitting snow or spitting rain, like the smallmouth absolutely chew. Up north, when you have those conditions, like those smallmouth like hunker down. They're like, what the heck, you know, because they spend so much time under the ice that they're trained, or you know, they're whatever it is, to whenever it's dark and cloudy, like they just kind of hunker down. But when it's sunny, like bluebird skies, when the smallmouth down here, you know, don't want to feed or, you know, chase baits or anything like that, those smallmouth up north under a bluebird sky day, like they're just going wild. So it's like fishing for a completely different species of fish up there. So to answer your question, if we had more opportunities to fish for southern smallmouth, I would be all about it. But as far as just greenfish versus the northern smallmouth, I'm going to go with greenfish any day of the week. They're a lot more predictable, and I can catch them a lot more, you know, ways that, you know, kind of suits my style. So.
Yeah. So now I know you know this Nathan Light character, right? You know, 3B Outdoors Nathan Light.
Yeah, it's the Nathan Light.
The Nathan.
Don't. You can't leave out that. The is very important. But yes, I do know him. Tight lining guru extraordinaire.
My question, you know, when do you whip out the tight lining stick?
Well, I pretty much whip out a tight line stick when I'm fishing with Nathan, because he's always spanking my butt with it. And I'm just like, well, holy cow, I guess I'm going to have to tie on one of those little gulp minnows and you know, catch his retread. So, you know, that's been my experience with it. I mean, I've actually, you know, done pretty decent on it here, you know, around Norris and stuff, you know, fishing with my buddies. But yeah, I mean, Nathan, man, he's deadly with that deal. He put us on a really good tight lining bite on Cherokee. Then I also fished with him up on South Holston, and he put on an absolute clinic there. So yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think that it would be as deadly as it is, but you know, my way of describing it is it's kind of like a float and fly, but you can cover about 10 times the water that you could cover with the float and fly. So, I mean, it makes sense.
That's what I call it, actually. I actually call it, and it's a horrible name for it, but I call it the poor man's float and fly, because you don't have to buy all the special equipment, but it's the same technique if you think about it. It really is.
It really is. But yeah, it's a fun way of catching them on that, you know, on that 4 and 6 pound line and that light rod. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And for all of you guys that don't know, that aren't from the area around here where me and Bandon are from, Nathan hosts a show called 3B Outdoors. They've got a YouTube channel. Make sure you go over there and check out their show. They do fishing, hunting, and Brandon's been on there several times. I've seen him on there, and a couple other good local sticks. And the Nathan Light tight lining guru. So, and he is. Let me tell you, he is. Guys, I'm gonna let Bandon go. So we've got 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes here before we call it. It's flew by, man. It has been awesome. Thank you again. I can't tell you how much of a fan of yours I am and have been. And from the time, guys, I'm telling you, from the time I met this guy the first time over in Weber City. I know he don't remember this because he meets 22 million people a day in a year. But
I don't think that's the case.
Trust me, you probably shake more hands than there are all together on this live stream right now. So during the monthly basis, I'd say. But guys, you know, he was always super nice to me. It's the first place I actually met old Mr. Ooten out there too. Again, I can't help but throw him the shout out there. And you know, he's a great guy, man. He's a soft spoken guy, but you better watch those soft spoken guys. They carry big sticks, and he's definitely a stick. Brian, do you see the comment from Brian, by the way?
Let's see. Giveaway, giveaway.
Oh,
we
Lord.
should do a giveaway. We just need to. I mean, what would
I'm
be a
not
good
gonna
way of
put you
doing a
on the
giveaway?
spot. I'm not gonna put you on the spot. I don't know. How are we gonna do a giveaway?
Well, what I could do is I could go through this chat here and I could just scroll and then like wherever I stop, where the cursor ends up, then that guy is going to win a 3DB vibe, and I'm going to throw in some other bass. I'm going to throw in some Yamamoto and a few other Yozuri bass, like my 3DB pencil and stuff like that. So it'll be a nice little prize packet. So if you want me to, I can just scroll until I stop, and then we'll just let the cursor be the one that picks the winner. How's that
All right,
sound?
that's fine with me. Now listen, guys. Before he does it, here's what we'll do. I'll put in my email address. You can email me. I'll get him. You can send me your address. I'll get it to him, and he can get it sent out to you, or he can send it to me, and I'll send it out to you. Either way. So, man, thank you. That's pretty good. Maybe I should thank Brian. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
So,
All right, so
you go ahead.
So just to give everybody a chance, I'm gonna scroll all the way down, make sure I don't leave anybody out. Scroll all the way down. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna start scrolling up, and then I stopped, and it landed on Matt Jones.
Matt
So
Jones.
Mr. Matt Jones is the winner of the Yamamoto Yozuri prize pack.
So make sure, Matt, I'm going to stick in. Let's hope he's still on here. Matt, I'm going to send out my, let's see, here's my email. All right, you guys should see that. Yep, he's still on there. Glad I didn't leave for sleep. Matt Jones, hey, Matt, there's my email. You shoot me your address on there, and I'll forward that to Brandon, and he'll get you the Yozuri prize pack. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. I'm glad that Brian suggested that, and definitely love to do those tackle pack giveaways. It's always fun. I do want to try to answer one more question if we have time.
Oh yeah, man. We're on here as long as you want to be here. You're the boss, brother. Let's go.
Okay. Well, I saw this one question and it kind of caught my eye because it was kind of the same situation that I was in high school. So here it is. I'm gonna read the question. It's by G Thing Outdoors, which that's a nice name to your YouTube channel there. So here's his question. He says, "So here's my situation. I'm in high school and I play baseball, but I also fish, and I'm good at baseball, but my heart and stuff is in fishing. So what do you suggest to do because I want to make it in fishing?" So I was kind of in a similar situation in high school with basketball. You know, I played basketball from the second grade all the way to my junior year of high school, and I was in that same predicament, man. I was like, do I want to keep playing basketball, which I've done my whole entire childhood, and really, I just need to finish out these 2 more years, my junior year and senior year, and I could say I played, throughout the whole deal. And so that it was tough, man, really tough. But I decided, which I'm not telling him to do this, but I'm just saying what I did. I decided to step away from basketball and focus on fishing, and that's what I did. But here's what happened. So it obviously helped me get better at fishing, which at the end of the day, that was what I really needed to do. But I would be lying to you if I didn't say that there was many a times when I was like, man, I wish like my senior year, man, I wish I was out there playing right now. I would be in the stands, like I would go back to some games occasionally. And it was just so weird, dude. It was like, how am I not playing in this game right now? So it was bittersweet. So I don't know what to tell you, man. I think if you stay in baseball and you focus on fishing after you get out of high school, I think that's a good call. But at the same time, you could give it up and maybe give more into fishing. So it's a tough call, man. I definitely had some rough times after I quit, but then also, I was able to fish in a lot more tournaments than, if I didn't quit. So I feel your pain, bro. Hope you make the right call on that. But I would definitely talk to your family and friends about it, and try to make a good decision.
Yeah. Talk, and I know being a man of God that Brandon would agree. Talk to your family and your friends and pray about it.
Amen.
You'll get the path lit up for you.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
way you need to go. All right, guys, listen, it's 9:04, and Brandon has a wife that I'm sure she is cussing me right now under her breath. So I'm going
Not
to
at
get
all.
him.
Not at
I'm going
all.
to get. She's a nice girl. I don't mean to imply that she's not, but I've been married 25 years, so I know what it's like when we're kept away from our family time. So I want to get Brandon out of here, guys. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for participating in this live stream. Thank you for welcoming Brandon on here. He's a good guy. I think he's more than proven how good of a guy. Make sure you become one of his biggest fans. I'm going to let Brandon shout out to any sponsors, any social media. I'll make sure that I get anything that any of his social media, and we'll link it in the description of this video later tonight, if not first thing in the morning. Um, guys, I just appreciate and have much love for each and every one of you, and a ton of love and respect for Mr. Card. It is truly an honor to have him on the BassGeek channel. Like I said, I've been a big fan boy of his for quite a while. And, I'm just going to leave it at that and turn it over to Mr. Card and let him sign us out and shout out any sponsors or anybody he wants to say hey to on here.
Yeah, Hank, I sure appreciate it, man. Thanks for the opportunity. It's been a blast hanging out with you guys. Hopefully, we can do this again, maybe after I get my first win on the Elite Series, and we could have a little celebration here on your channel. That would be pretty cool.
That would be awesome.
So plan on that, and yeah, just follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Brandon Card Fishing. Just follow me on there, and yeah, just come up to me at East Tennessee Fishing Show at the Classic. Come shake my hand. I would love to meet you guys. I love meeting fellow bass fishing fans. I mean, I'm a fan of the sport just as much as you guys are. So it was a pleasure hanging out with y'all, and we will talk again real soon.
All right, hang in there. Don't sign off yet. I'm going to get some information from you after we leave all the fellow bass geeks and fellow card fans out here that we've created hopefully tonight and already had. Guys, again, thank you very much. Thank you for stopping by. You guys rock.